Welcome to this week's episode of Esports Wrap. Now, as I promised from last week, this week we're going to have a little bit of a difference going on right now. We're going to be talking about, well, female gamers in the industry and a number of topics surrounding that. So, I'd like to start off by, saying, of course, I'm your host, Michael Armogan. And with us today, we have 5 guests this time instead of our regular 1 or 2. So, starting with the ladies, we have BlueSuedeHaze.
Hello.
We have, and most of you probably know, Dwan.
Hello.
And we also have Jess P, 118.
Hi.
We also have Arragon.
That's me.
And Chris. Okay, so actually starting this off, and I guess we're gonna go a little round table with this. BlueSuedeHaze. Is there some easier way that I could really refer to you?
You can just call me Blue.
Blue. Okay. To everyone in the stream, just call her Blue. Can you just tell us a little bit like when you started gaming, maybe your favorite game?
Like history of games. My all-time favorite game forever is going to be StarCraft Brood War. I started gaming when I was very young. My dad got a Nintendo 64 or even NES and started doing Mario and such, but we had a huge family and we're not as privileged as it came with a lot of other gamers. We had 1 or 2 games sometimes, so I got really, really good at Mario. I got really, really good at the original Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo series, and then didn't game for a while until the Xbox came out and started just branching out and playing more and more games. I used to play very few games and be really good at them, and now I play lots of games and I'm not good at any of them. But right now, I still play StarCraft Brood War on the remaster that just came out. I'm looking to do a little bit more competitive stuff than that, but it really depends on people, teams, and such.
Okay. So, what would you say is your favorite game?
The Brood War is my favorite because it's a strategy game, but also because the platform allows you to create so many other games out of it. You can play Risk on it. There's a lot of board games people make. There's a lot of role-playing games people make out of the platform, and I really enjoy the user maps on there, as well as the edited maps basically.
Okay.
I'm really, really big into the Left 4 Dead 2. I'd say that's a close second.
Dwan, when did you start gaming and what is your favorite game?
Just like Blue, I started gaming at a very young age. I think my first console was PlayStation 1. But I would have to say my favorite was Zelda the Ocarina of Time. Like, hands down. Like, that's the only game I can go back to again and again. And just play non-stop. So, yeah.
Okay. So, Jess, when did you start and what is your favorite game?
Kind of started at a young age on a Nintendo 64. I think the most memorable game at that time that I had was Diddy Kong Racing. And after that, my dad had these LAN parties on the original Xbox with the game Halo. And that's when I really got into first-person shooters, because I was 6 at the time. And he just handed the controller over to me and said, "Here, your turn." And basically, I wiped the floor, not knowing how to play or anything. I just caught on real quick and just beat everyone.
So you'd say that's your... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the Halo series, I would say, was probably my favorite game series until Bungie sold it, and then it kind of went to crap.
Okay. Arragon, when did you start and what is your favorite game?
one of my favorite games, but my favorite game by far is Fable. And I was addicted to that. Played it constantly, never stopped. I actually lost a friendship over it because he's like, "Can I play?" I'm like, "No." With like demon voice and everything. It was great. I played it like over 250 hours on launch. But it all started with that NES, and my dad and I played constantly, and we got to the end and, you know, had to replay the game over, and it actually got harder. So then I realized that there's Easter eggs in games and stuff. So for me, it was very early on, and just ever since been going strong until I was slightly depressed and I gave up on games, but now I'm back into it, and I'm loving it more than ever now.
Okay. Chris, when did you start, and what is your favorite game?
I also started young. I was 2, and my dad had a great idea to take me to an arcade. And I couldn't even reach the controller, so he had to like pick me up to like so I could actually play it. And when we went to go, apparently I like clutched on the doors and I was crying, like bawling tears within. After that, I played NES, and I got I had my own Super Nintendo, and from there I think I had like the latest console up until the PS3 generation. At that point I just stopped gaming for like several years, and then I got back into it again. So that's where I started. My favorite game is also Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Hey.
Already, so my second favorite game has to be Final Fantasy IX. It was just a phenomenal game. In my opinion, it's the best Final Fantasy series.
Okay. I guess I have to talk about myself now. Darn it. I started, like everyone else, from a young age. I think my first system was actually Atari. And that was something that my mom had because, for whatever reason, she had one inside the room. And so I just kind of plugged in a cartridge and started playing with it. And then it was like the Nintendo 64, I think. Yeah. Then I just kind of started hodgepodging every once in a while. Moved from there, went to arcades, started doing PC gaming for the most part, and here I am today. But I'd have to say my favorite game is Pokemon. That doesn't really say which Pokemon. That doesn't really answer anything. All of them. To be quite honest, I'd have to say Yellow. Just because that was the first one where Pikachu could actually follow you and you could actually make him get pissed off by leaving him on the ledge, while you jump off to the other side. Yeah, like that was something really enjoyable to me, just like how interaction worked back then and so on and so forth. But okay, now that we've actually done our introductions, let's dump a little bit into some harder things. One of the topics actually being, well, in today's current age, women are becoming more and more empowered when it comes to gaming, and the fact that, you know, there are more pronounced female gamers. There's I think a 44% women to men ratio. There are more female character leads. Still not a whole lot, but there's more than before, other than, like, you know, Lara Croft or something like that. And there doesn't seem to be that many women growing inside the actual development stage, though. And so I'd really like to start off the conversation by, well, opening up the forum to really talk about, how should I put it? What are your views on women being more pronounced in gaming nowadays? In all aspects. I mean, even in esports, which, to be quite honest, I barely see any.
May I start off by thanking you for the three women that I see here, myself and the other two. When I heard the title was going to be female gamers, and there's so many different sensitive subjects for that. When we go into that, for me, and I really appreciate. I see Jess, and I don't want to mispronounce her name again. Dwan here, and I can appreciate that we look like female gamers and not what is typically seen on Twitch, which makes it more difficult to be a woman gamer in this day and age. We've always been here. There's always been about 50-50 when it comes to men gamers and female gamers. We've always been really good. We don't need everybody's help, gaming. And there's just this persona that a lot of people create over what it is to be a female gamer. And a lot of people think that we're just sitting over here giggling and clueless. And it's frustrating to be able to show skill without people accusing you of hacking or having help from a boyfriend or other things like that. So again, like I said, I appreciate you having some down to earth real gamers on the show today when it comes to female gamers.
Not a problem. That was the entire purpose.
Good job.
Well, I mean, yeah, I kind of didn't really want to touch on certain topics, to be quite honest, like for lack of a better term, the titty or cleavage streamers or butt streamers that you may find on certain stream websites, not just Twitch, but all around. But yeah, it's
It's really difficult to be a female gamer and have someone point out that aspect that you are a girl without thinking of that. So I apologize. But
it's cool.
vibes either way.
Well, I mean, okay, let me ask you guys this. Typically, when you are gaming and so on and so forth, what's your opinion when you actually play a game and, well, do you have an opinion when you play a game and it's only male lead characters and it's only female sub NPCs that are females and stuff like that, and that almost forgettable characters? And this goes for anyone as well.
I had a bit of a problem with it because I am big on representation, and I think that's extremely important. If a guy can be represented, I feel like females should be able to be represented as well. I would like to see myself in the games, and it helps when there's a wider spectrum of who to choose from. You broaden your market by being able to target different people. So I don't understand why it's taken them so long to be able to have that, for us to have that option to say, okay, I want to play a female or I want to play like a male. For example, Pokemon. Look how long it took them to be able to choose like a male or a female, or even like Assassin's Creed, being able to play a female assassin. That's a big thing. I'd get hype over something. So I think that's pretty important.
I think with some games it works, but other games won't work, especially when you're trying to tell a story. If you have a main protagonist like The Witcher, for example, I really hope in the next Witcher we can do this, because Siri, sorry, because I thought Siri was just an amazing character, but at the same time, I appreciate Gerald's story. So I think it's a give and take sometimes, but I think in some games, like you said, Pokemon, there's definitely a reason why you shouldn't be able to play as a female, main character. There's none. Especially when you're, the main character doesn't have, much dialogue or much interaction. Why? What's the point? You might as well just let people create their own character at that point. doesn't impact the story that much, and sometimes it can add. So
I agree with that. That's actually quite good.
I agree with it as well. And when you really consider Chris's point, like, there are some stories that only certain genders can really tell because that, or not even certain genders, but certain characters in the game can only really tell. And yes, sometimes if you do side stories, you can gain a little bit more insight into other characters, but it's still not the same as if that character was the lead character, the playable character.
I couldn't imagine Horizon with a male lead. Like I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that either. It'd just be weird.
So, okay, yeah, I can kind of get, there are certain things that certain genders can probably fit better. Some people can probably argue with me with that. Some people probably agree. Some obviously are, especially with Chris right now. But what about the representation of women when it comes to doing things like streaming or competitive sports? Like I said, I look at competitive like competitions, and I almost only ever see guys or guys that I have to wonder if they are women, but that's a completely different topic. um, no, legit, like, there was a Hearthstone competition here just earlier this year, and then there was one particular person that I could not tell what gender they were. And I didn't want to ask, because then that would be awkward. And and the username did not give it away. So, yeah. I mean, what do you guys think when it actually comes to those persons that should be representing women when it comes to competitive gaming and stuff like that?
Well, I think that there's definitely a great gender barrier when it comes to that. I had a chance to almost be on an MLG team, and then they decided to break up. So I searched for another team, and I was constantly turned away because I was a girl. So it kind of is like some teams only look for guys because that's the stereotype. And I've been fighting the gender barrier with my job. I'm an engineer, which is a male-dominated field. So it's kind of been my goal to fight the barrier and just kind of get out there more, get more females out there, like especially with streaming. You don't see many good quality female streamers.
That is true. I know there were. How should I put it? There was an article pretty much stating that. Or no, it wasn't an article, it was a Reddit thread. And it was pretty much talking that, if you're not one of those type of female streamers, you typically may have a problem when it comes to getting people to follow you and building up that subscriber base, so on and so forth. Now, I know Dwan doesn't stream, so I'm not sure. Well, Dwan, you still game. That's a good question. But I mean, okay, let me rephrase it. When it comes to those of you who stream or watch streamers, what entices you to really follow if it's a female streamer? Or if you stream, what do you see helps bring people in? When you're not showing things, obviously.
in terms of streaming, it's probably like raid clears. I really don't care who. I'm just concerned about the people. Well, yeah, the people. I really don't care who it is. Like if it's a girl or a guy, it doesn't matter to me. So, I don't know. Like to me, I would look more so for skill. Like I don't see why gender should be even an issue in terms of like like they just happen to be a girl, they just happen to be a guy, but you're watching it because they're skillful, they're entertaining for whatever reason, but not because of a gender. To me that seems weird. That seems like, why would you pick don't pick simply based on someone's gender? That doesn't make sense to me. And especially when in my experience at least, I've like a lot of the really skilled players tend to be females. Like that's like honest, like from my experience, like countless raids, some of the best raid leaders who I've ran with and who would have chosen to be like, well, hey, we have a bunch of new people here, we need to teach them this raid. Chances are I would always pick, like, I can guarantee, like, out of all the different raids I've done, like probably like the top 3 for each raid, 2 of them were females and 1 was a guy. Just because I find that, I mean, they're just so skilled, and maybe it's because I guess females have such a harder time, they have to like really prove themselves, and guys just kind of like lax it out. Maybe that's the reason, I don't know, but I just don't know why I experience that that's the case.
Fair enough. And I mean, there's the whole scientific thing that, you know, women are more skilled in certain things, especially, you know, when it comes that and more detailed things, which obviously comes across when you're playing games and you have to really make sure that you do something just right.
I don't think, for me personally, I watch, as he was saying, I don't think I'll watch somebody because they're a guy or a girl. I do think I get a little turned off on people saying that, you know, like, if their name is The Man or Pretty Princess, or if it just points out their gender, I actually have a harder time going to their stream because they're trying to draw attention to that and not their games. But I don't think I would choose a stream over a gender. It really has to do with personality and content of the stream.
Okay. So we actually have a question in chat, and that is, well, not so much a question, but more a statement that I'd like to ask you guys as well. Dark Awoken Queen says, what upsets me in games is when they make the female character slutty. Like, have you ever seen a beautiful, like, thick girl? And so, okay, when you do have a female character in these games, I will admit, yeah, a lot of them do seemingly have the whole very little body armor, even though it's like supposedly the same type of armor level as the guys who's like full knight armor. Meanwhile, she's just got her boobs and her.
Should we mention Bayonetta?
Yeah. And somehow like she doesn't get cut when someone slashes her or whatever, but exactly.
My man is a video game concept artist, and he was drawing a whole bunch of stuff over 10 years ago when we first got together, and I was going through the pictures, and I was like, why is every single one of these girls got big boobs and no clothes? And he says, well, that's the standard. And I looked at him like, why is that the standard? I play just as many, if not more, video games than he does, you know. And then you can go kind of hypocritical about it. You know, there's not a lot of handsome guys for me to be looking at on video games. You know, they're big, tough, and burly, but they're not cute. But you guys get that.
I mean, you don't like Kratos? I mean, come on.
Let's not, yeah.
But I think games are doing better now, especially in the MMO realm. That was a big problem. Games like Guild Wars 2, I would even say Final Fantasy 14 to an extent. I mean, of course, Final Fantasy 14 does have the fan service, but when you look at their armor overall, it's very hard to, at least for me, to find like really like I have to go out of my way. Like I have to take like a part from one armor set and another part from another armor set and like combine them together in order to get like the slutty appearance. But I think yours too was probably the hardest one that I found. Like they had like very consistent armors that made sense for everyone to wear, but both genders to wear. Final Fantasy 14, they just like, I mean, I've seen more slutty male characters than I've seen slutty female characters. Like Final Fantasy 14, they'll have the big they call Rogandans, like just kind of like big burly men, and like they would like so many people who I've seen play those characters, they literally just run around in like a thong all day and like something on their head and that's it, and they just run around like that all day, and it's like how are you doing this? Like why are you doing this? But it's interesting to see that they gave the ability to do that instead of just having just one straight, oh well, the only slutty character or partially nude character you see are females. And so I kind of appreciate that, and I see where the trend is shifting, and that's good, because it doesn't make sense why Final Fantasy 14 is bae. It is bae. Mr. What is Mr. Doggy Pants? Oh. Oh man, Gladius. Oh, I did not like Gladius. Oh man, they're gonna start a whole thing in this chat.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Okay, yeah. I mean, when you really think about it though, I mean, it kind of also starts up a whole nother thing. Because I have a number of guy friends that only play female characters. The main reason is because they're more attractive to look at, so they say.
That third person view.
Exactly. They would prefer watching a female's butt.
I'm gonna set a burly man for like the thousands of hours I'm gonna play this game. No, I'll pass. A lot of my female friends actually play. I have like a good much female friends who actually play strictly male characters.
I have a friend that's trying to start a trend of creating the ugliest character ever, and it gets really creative in like Dark Souls, and when you get some really good facial feature editing.
That sounds funny.
It's great.
Well, let me see. So, ladies, a serious question here. Let's say you're playing a multiplayer game, and you're playing with someone, and then they find out that you're female. Typically, how do those situations pan out?
Dwayne's face. Let her start.
Oh, I didn't know you played games. I bet you I could kick your hip and oh
my god, finally.
Oh, there you go, Arragon. You can hear us now.
God damn it, now I can hear it. Oh!
Okay, continue.
Okay, continue. God, I missed all that.
It usually starts off with, I didn't know you played games. Like when I ask you what kind of games I normally play, if I say something like a first-person shooter or something that's against non-melee, they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know you played that. I bet you could kick your hip in it." All kind of other different statements they making, and I'm like, why do you even take pride in wanting to beat up somebody who you're presuming not to know the game? Like that doesn't make sense to me. So I normally just keep quiet and I let my skills do the talking. So it doesn't really bother me. It gets cliche after a while.
I'm being polite, Jess.
Okay. I played mostly Halo for first-person shooters, and every time I spoke up, they're like, "Shut your mouth, you 10-year-old boy." I'm like, I'm actually like a 20-year-old girl. And they're like, "No, you're not. Why are you beating me?" Because girls can actually have skill.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
I think it's a little bit different now with microphones. I get that a lot, hey, you're some, little kid I get that a lot. But back in the day when there was a little more anonymity, it was all text. I would go and, you know, slaughter people on Brood War, and they'd, you know, go ASL, what's your age, sex, location? And I'd be like, I'm a 16 female in Washington State. And they'd be like, no, you're not. You're some, you know, ugly guy and you live in your mom's basement and, you know, all of this stuff. And it wasn't believable. And now, trying to be conservative for a non-mature stream here, there's a lot more harassment and cultures online that a lot of girls put up with and tolerate in order to game, and it's kind of frustrating. But we have to prove ourselves with our skills. Otherwise, once they know that we're women, it could drastically affect who's going to add you as a friend, who's going to be your teammate, and all of that.
Okay. So, I think we've pretty much blown the whole meme from back in the day out of the water that there's no girls on the internet, right?
Yeah.
What's a girl?
So confused to be spelling it backwards.
Okay.
Gamer girl?
Are you a girl? Oh man.
So, guys, have you ever been in a situation where someone just came out that they're a female gamer and you may be playing with some friends and then they act a certain way, or like, have you experienced something like that?
No, not personally, but I was called a girl one time because I didn't speak up in the group of people. But no, I haven't actually come across that recently, or in past groups. Because I try and game alone because I don't like the social aspect of gaming now the way it used to be. Like, you know, you'd sit on a couch and just play, and you'd have the group of people, and you'd have the girls and the guys with you. But now that there's, like Blue said, there's the whole people can find out who you are, and if you're talking and stuff, it's I don't have
Well,
that
let me get
sort
this. I apologize, and can I point this out? This chat, BlueSuedeHaze, are you single? It doesn't matter.
That's honestly
That-
not
that
the
is-
purpose of this chat.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
Yeah, please pay attention to the content of the stream. More Cookies put together a really great show about female gamers here.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry for any interruption.
No,
I
it's,
apologize.
it's totally fine. I don't see that really because I don't partake in it, so I try to avoid that because I don't want that whole situation arising out of playing with people. So I try to keep the chat to a minimum, keep the groups to a minimum, keep the I don't know. I just not the greatest person to ask for that, but.
I actually have a thing that I do, like especially when I get in a game and I'm looking for like a guild or a clan or something. I always tend to look at the ratio of males to females inside that group, and if it's overwhelmingly male, I always ask why, because that means that girls for some reason aren't attracted here and they don't stick around, most likely because the males are that type. So I know that you guys probably may not be the best people to stay around. I don't know. But I tend to find that that's actually a really good indicator of healthy guild or clan, the amount of females in it. Simply because if females are there, then that means that's an environment where they're not like attacking them or like harassing them, that means that, okay, you guys actually probably into gaming and not just like treating this like it is a social thing, but not purely just, oh hey, the second you see a girl, then you're gonna drop, like you're getting like super thirsty, like you wasn't thirsty a second ago, so why are you thirsty now? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I tend to find that to be, at least I use that as a little barometer to try to figure out, like, to get a feel of groups anytime I join them, the ratio, because I tend to find that healthy groups tend to have a more even number of males to females, because it is, and like in reality it is like closely even number of females and males playing. So why should, like, if a guild, why should it be like 90% male? That don't make any sense.
I have a few things to say. One, fully key buttons.
You fast typing.
Cryo's just being silly now.
Yeah, he is. He's asking now if Chris is single, or I don't know if it's a he or she, but apparently they're just open to whoever. So, hey Vicky. I know personally, I've seen it a number of times, and I've had a number of my female friends tell me about it when they game. An example being the guild I'm in on World of Warcraft. Every once in a while, we will get some females that decide to join in. And there were times when we had guys that would go after them, and certain rumors would come about afterwards, and it's like, that's not healthy. And it just became some contention, and like, even up to now, at this point, we have maybe one or two actual females that, actual females. One or two females that are still around, and that have continued raiding with us, doing hardcore content. And I mean, I'll admit, some of them will bite your head off and spit it in the garbage when you mess up, but they stick around. And then others, like, sometimes you really do have to wonder, what is the reason why they left? Was it because someone was harassing them? And if that's the case, then I think it's something like Chris was saying, you really may have to start taking a look at that guild and trying to resolve some of those issues, which I think has started to happen with that guild. But yeah. And I know from my female friends, while I haven't experienced it, like I said, I have quite literally had them play with me and then tell me, you know, there's this guy that's following us, and he's asking, like, he's hitting on me. And it's like, he's quite literally saying how beautiful the character is, and I'm like, this is a digital avatar. A character, it's not real. What is going through your mind there, sir?
I had an ex exactly like that. And I'm glad he's gone.
My apologies.
It does happen. I've had people create Zero on Borderlands 2 specifically because he says things about the Siren that I was playing. And there's many different forms of harassment that we have to endure. And like I said earlier, are those girls still in the guild because they're tolerating it? Or are they there because they don't care, you know? But it is something that happens all the time.
Yeah. So let me put it like this. If you could change the way that games are currently being played now, in the terms of making things a bit more equal or whatever, how would you want to change how, like, people perceive games or how games are made, that kind of thing?
I think it goes back to what Dwayne was saying in the beginning. It's just being able to create more characters, or have your own. They need to market towards women more. They're still marketing towards men when they know that half of the gamers are women. Being able to have the female character option when it doesn't affect the story, like he said, that sort of thing would be better. But I'll play video games no matter what.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump on that?
I'd love character customization, but that's just because I like single characters, so.
That is unfair that female characters have way more customization. That is totally playing towards the male side of the gaming, but I can see why, but it should be. They should have like equal or like one or the other, not like both, or you know what I mean, like pick a side kind of thing and do whatever. But for developing games, I think there should be more women developing games because there's some ideas out there that haven't been capitalized on for certain games, and it might take a woman's touch to get those ideas out there. And some of the I actually I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but I think Ubisoft, not the name drop or anything, but they have a pretty good women to men ratio for developing and in certain aspects of the games that are being made, as well as multicultural teams in the groups.
Oh, we got the daddy dating sim.
What?
Yes, yeah,
What?
we do have that. Yes,
Daddy dating sim.
What is what?
you try and date dads or whatever.
Yeah. You get to make your dad, and then after you make your dad, you meet your daughter, and then you get to meet other dads and their children, and you can date them. So it's legit daddy dating sim. Like legit.
So-
it's a real thing. It's apparently real popular on Twitch.
Actually looks like a really good game. Like that's what got me. I was like, whoa, this looks like really good. And then it was like, oh, it's a daddy dating sim. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking like the main character is like a female. It's like, nah, you get to make your own daddy.
Hold on. So clarify this for me. Is this like a pedophilia game? Like
No, you're dating.
No, it's
You
I
date
don't-
your dad, and you're dating other dads.
oh.
Yeah.
I think I have a daddy and a stepdaddy
Dream
scenario.
daddy, they got it.
Is
Dream
what
daddy.
that is.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
And it's actually really good.
it actually has good ratings too for some reason, and everybody watches it. Like,
Really good.
yeah,
Mr.
Hi.
I played it because it doesn't appeal to me, but like it looks like I'm like, oh man, like why does this have to be like this? But I mean, it's great. I thought it was a great game.
So it's like, hi, this is my dad. Will you date? Would you mind dating my dad?
The supporting character is like the cutest character ever. Like she's so adorable. Like her chemistry with the thing is like, with the main character is like, oh my god, it's like so. I thought it was great. I like the people who designed that game. They really did a great job. I don't like the character customization, but everything else other than that is amazing from what I've seen.
apparently it's lost its lust because there's only like 5 people or 2 people playing it. So
I could kind of understand why, but I mean, it sounds interesting. Like that's the only real thing I could really
yeah,
put to that.
Dream Daddy Dream Daddy Dad Dating Simulator is what it's called.
Because that's already not a mouthful, pun fully intended.
And
But,
apparently it's filled with dad puns in the game.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Headphones are right.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, anyone else want to jump in on the whole changing the way how games are made or games play, that kind of thing?
I mean, just more women in the industry would be better, but like how Jess was saying earlier, it's just the gaming industry is just one of those industries where even though you have a lot of females trying to get in, they find that there's a glass ceiling that's very low and it's not that high. So they'll get in and then they don't really get up to where they can make the decisions like about what's going in the game. They're just kind of the ones who just like, oh hey, well they're giving orders like, oh hey, make this. And they have to because this is a job, but they're not the ones who are making the decisions. We need more females in decision-making positions, but I think that's across the board. I think we need more females in decision-making positions in movies, in
Entertainment,
games,
marketing,
and
yeah.
just everything. I mean,
Exactly.
DC was doing horrible, and then they finally let a woman direct one of their films, and it turned out to be one of the best films that they've ever done. Good job, guys! Like seriously, like they really need to just do that.
So, Mr. Doggy Pants, because that name's still up, yeah. he brings up an interesting point on one that I was wanting to touch on a little bit. It says that I'd say that games should be ideographic and cater to everyone's personal needs. Now, what do you guys think about that? And I know some people will also probably say, why not let everybody wear everything? So that would probably end up with guys wearing, well, skirts and female outfits, and women being able to pick and choose whatever of the guys' outfits that were previously
Xbox
there.
Live is actually catered to that already. You can cross-dress on your avatars on Xbox Live.
Yeah, you can do that. That's been quite a popular feature, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I know Guild Wars 2, they had an armor set that came out, and the sluttier version was actually the male version, because like the chest part of it was actually cut out completely. So you saw like the male's complete chest, and then the female one was like completely covered. It was like a dress, and it was like, what?
That's so weird.
It was a really popular outfit though. Like a lot of people like got it. A lot of male characters started wearing it.
Interesting. But I mean, and Mr. Doggy Pants has a good point with this one as well, in that it shouldn't just be when it comes to the social aspect of it. Sometimes there are games that are just single player and you get a little bit of customization, and sometimes the items there, they only really focus in on one type of aspect and may not. For example, yes, there are MMOs that have you wearing very weird and out there outfits, and at the same time they sometimes allow you to cross-dress and whatnot, but you don't really see that when it comes to single player games.
I mean, Cloud cross-dressed in Final Fantasy VII.
Fable, you cross-dress anything. Anything you want, female, male, doesn't matter. You can actually, there's a potion that you can drink that actually changes your gender at the end of the game. Spoiler, but not quite.
I didn't know that.
No, don't worry. It's not the end of the game.
Play Fable 3 now.
I don't know which one it is. It's not Fable 1 though, but it's 2 or 3 or whatever. But you can change your gender at the end of the game, and it's one of the biggest decisions and one of the craziest gamer scores or something going. At the time, it was insane, and I was like, wait, what? I didn't have to be this character now. I can do something else, and you can. That's one of the best examples of a game that lets you make choices to be who you want. You can marry a woman, be a woman. You can marry a man, be a woman. You can marry a man, be a man. Like you can cross-dress. You can. It's the pinnacle of what we're talking about, where things don't have to be one or the other. You could do both or have whatever you want, really. You can be a woman and do male things. Like it's great.
I think the problem with cross-dressing though is going to come with.
It's not a mature stream. It's not a mature stream.
I think the problem with cross-dressing in a lot of games too is going to be it's just going to be so much more work to implement, simply because for every armor you make, like, in order to have a cross-dress version where it looks like, you'll have to adjust that to the male models, and that's work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. I agree with that.
You have to read the whole rigging, the modeling, the textures, all of that has to be redone, and
the skeletons and everything.
For that to, I don't know how often we're gonna see that happen, because with something like Xbox Live, like the little avatars they have, they're kind of just
gender neutral almost.
Shapes. Yeah, they're like
they're just the same style all the way through, and then you can change them.
So it's very easy for them to do that, which is great that they did it. But for like a game with Horizon, for example, like if we could have created our own character, like for them to do cross-dressing in that, I can imagine we'd probably have like less than the limited armors that they already gave us in Horizon, because they didn't give us much, like less than what they already did give us, because I think it'd just be so much to do. But that's not to say that they can't do it. It's just
it's more work. Yes.
Yeah, it's just another thing.
Now, I know in recent real world things, the whole sexual harassment thing has become especially within this past week. Very heated topic yet again. But when it comes to in games, ladies, can you make it very clear cut as to how you would prefer being treated when just in gaming, just in when you say you're a female, when people are looking at your skill, like just all of it. How would you want to be treated in games, and when you're talking to people or whatever, or even when you're streaming? For those of you who stream,
I think mostly with respect in the main reason. I mean, just seeing
I'd be
that...
treated like everybody else.
Yeah, be treated like everyone else and not be targeted for one certain aspect or be seeked out for that aspect, and just be seeked out because you're a streamer, you have skill, and you're just... I mean, you're not exactly putting yourself out there, but you're basically entertaining people, so to say.
I'd like to hear Dwayne on this one because she doesn't stream. She's just mainly a gamer, right?
I guess I would like to be treated the same way I treat everyone else. Like, the same respect I give you me the exact same thing back. Like, as in hard, it's not asking for much. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean, like, I deserve any less respect as a male counterpart. And yeah, I don't stream, and normally the people that I play with are either very close friends or family members, so I don't get the sexual harassment part of it. But in any aspect of business, in any aspect of life, like the same way how I treat you, I expect to be treated in return.
Yeah. I feel like there's overall with the whole culture and the Me Too thing going on right now, there is a culture online in gaming where there are words used that should not be used that describe, attacks or harassment that are common, very, very common in games. And I think everyone just needs to understand when you're out there gaming, you should just treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't use somebody's gender as something to attack them by. Use their lack of skills. Show a nude. No.
Get good.
Guys, from your side of things, are there any suggestions that you would give to other players in how they should treat other people? Mainly the guys, how they should treat other players.
They should actually, like, the golden rule is the way to go. I mean, treat others the way you want to be treated yourself, but sometimes that doesn't work. So, if for instance, for me, when I stream and I get treated like garbage by someone, I just dish it back to them, or what I do is, depending on how difficult they're being, I'll just take it and then just, be myself and keep doing what I'm doing. I'll sing Spice Girls. I'll do whatever I want to do, and they can leave or walk away. But for, like, when you're playing against someone, it's a little bit different when you're either, beating them and they think you're hacking or what have you. But it's pretty disrespectful when you're trying to do your best doing what you do and people are just bad-mouthing you the whole time. And it goes for even, like, girls, they bad-mouth me sometimes, which is odd, but so it goes on both sides for me. But what are your thoughts, Chris?
I mean, to go with pretty much the girls that he said. I mean, just respect. You just treat people with respect. I mean, you treat people how you'd want to be treated, regardless of their gender. I mean, I don't see why you should bring up gender and race. I mean, if you're going like at that means you have nothing else really. So you're substanceless. Okay, that's a great starting point. So I don't know. It's just I agree with Blue. Like you look at someone's skills, especially when it comes to gaming, and you judge them based off of that. Not based off of whether they're a girl or a guy. Like that just doesn't make any sense.
For me, there's something that I've heard recently, and I think it's brilliant. It kind of goes along with what everyone's been saying, but it's along the lines of treat others how you would treat The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And it's like,
Okay.
would you really want to like if he's in front of you, would you really like talk smack or like talk about his gender or say how pretty he is? I mean, granted, he would probably dance a little bit, but
You probably can't take that because someone assaulted Terry Crews. Like Terry Crews. You don't.
yeah, that is.
Yeah, you don't do that. Yeah.
Everyone can go with the
And
harassment. Yeah.
he actually came out and was like, "Yeah, this happened like last year." He just came out and said that. So it's like, I mean, I don't know what kind of balls you must have in order to just roll up on Terry Crews, but yeah, that guy did. So I mean, I don't even know if that would even stop people from doing what they're doing.
I've had one where it was like you kiss your grandmother with that mouth, or like, would you treat your mother that way, or your sister, or anything like that? No matter who you're talking to, would you say that to your brother? Like, you might say it to your brother, but you wouldn't say it to your sister. So why would you say it at all? Because they're family. So to me, you shouldn't really have to. You either say something and regret it, and you get pooped on, or you don't say anything at all and just sit there and be quiet. And those are the people that would say something, but they're not going to, and I respect them for that. But I also think once they start piping up, if you say something they don't like, there's that issue where they have problems with everybody. Like, I'm kind of side scrolling there for a second.
I think what we need to do is continue the conversation. Cookies, he planned this stream for this reason. I think awareness of the types of difficulties that people go through because of their gender as gamers is a huge thing. And I understand that there's a big emphasis on female gamers. Guys get it too. You know, and we need to keep the communication open and understand that we're all the same. We're all out there doing the same things. And I think when there's more conversation, people are more aware of the harassment and the things that are going on, the difficulties people run into, it'll start going away because people will become more aware. It'll be harder for them to divulge in that type of behavior.
I agree. Well said.
So we're coming up to time right now, and I guess I'd like to wrap things up by asking is there any words of wisdom or any bit of information you'd like to leave our viewers and those that are listening to us when this becomes a podcast? Just leave anything for them.
The only thing that comes to my mind is my game on, good games, good luck, have fun. Okay, thanks, bye. Game on, have fun, guys.
Mistakes show us. Oh god, I can't even think of this one right. Okay, scars show us where we've been. Mistakes guide us, and we learn from them. And choices define us. Anything for you, Jess? Chris? Dwan? You guys got nothing? Got nothing?
I mean, nothing like.
Peace, we're out.
I mean, I'd say like, if you're out there, just be respectful. Like, treat people how you want to be treated. I mean, it's not rocket science. Like, it's really not. Like, it's so basic and so simple. Like, it's 2017.
I guess I would just say that don't let what you hear or what you experience stop you from doing what you love. Like, just keep doing it. People are always gonna say stuff out of the just say mean things or derogatory things, and sometimes you just gotta chuck it and move on.
Well, I'm going to put a shameless plug here. My words of wisdom, make sure you follow all of us. Those of us who stream. No, but seriously, I think Blue's right in that you need to make sure that if something's happening, you don't just keep it to yourself. You talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way things can really get better. So, even though you may feel a certain kind of way, and you may not feel like opening up, it will help as long as you're talking to the right person. So, just make sure that you enjoy what you're doing, which is gaming or streaming or whatever it is, or even making games. Even if it's just watching that female butt in front of you in the game. And remember, it's just a game. I think sometimes we don't remember that.
Hey, kill the controller.
I was gonna say something, but I didn't want to. You do it, Blue. You did it with more style and finesse than I would have.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, apparently since even though I am having a fight back against it, it is just a game. Even though we can get really invested into it. But sometimes you do need to just turn off the computer, walk away, take a breather.
I can wait uptime. Are you crazy?
Chris? Yeah, that's it that I have to say. If that's it, then I'd like to wrap this up by saying feel free to join in for our next talk show, which is Tech Talk on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we'll be back next week on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another episode of Esports Wrap. Thanks for all of my guests for coming on the show: BlueSuedeHaze, Dwan, Jess P, 111, Arragon, and Chris. Thank you all of the persons that are in chat talkings, like Mr. Doggy Pants.
That's great.
Sorry, Dark Awoken.
Dark Awoken Queen.
Speaking of Dark Awoken, she's the one that I helped today.
Oh.
Nice.
She's the streamer that wants to stream again because of me.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading some of what she was saying inside the chat, and I'm glad she's going to be starting back up again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Well, Viquelli, thank you for following, and DJB03. I saw that little heart right there, Dwan. I saw it. But yeah. Oh, and we had a few followers. Let's see. Pelduki, Sheep Cycle, JB Doc, 1999, TJ Lab, Real Amir Becca, and yeah. So, until next time, this is Esports Wrap. Take care.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. More cookies.
Is that like a weird, like a new Star Trek thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.